Let's talk about KCCA, and I'll start with Daniel, as we keep it local still. Is KCCA that bad, or are we overlooking, you know, how great Maroons and Express have been or are?
Yeah. Well, as we were coming in, I was telling Clive that somehow I feel KCCA has been unlucky, because there were those moments you really thought they could convert their chances. Maybe they hit woodwork or they fell somehow. But anyway, he just left it off and he was like, oh, no, he has his reasons. I'm sure he does have his reasons. But for me, looking at KCCA, when they were playing ball, because now those are 3 games in a row, one of their worst starts.
It's really tough.
It's really tough indeed for Trangil, and given the way he talked during the press conference,
the
when
way he
came
cried.
when he was joining KCCA, we had these very big expectations from him, but things are kind of falling apart. Yeah, there was that long video you sent us. He looked so deserted, and well, a lot of pain there, whatever is going on in his life. But coming back to KCCA, for me, I feel, for example, against Express, their defense has been that poor. I mean, for example, the first goal, you look at defender Derek Ngovi, very talented player there, but one of those short defenders, you don't expect him to jump that high, let's say, to score a header. You don't expect him. We expected Derek Ochan, the goalkeeper, to do better. Probably should have parried that ball, you know, to avoid the goal you get. And then Bull against Bull FC, I think Bull made it very difficult for KCCA. They never gave them any chance. It was that hard. So at the end of the day, for me, I think they should work on their defense. They should try to get a goalkeeper who can communicate with the defense and maybe command, you know. There is that lack of seniority in the team. Although I know Derek Ochan has been on the scene for some time, but there is that lack. And also his over-reliance, the manager, on younger players. I feel he trusts them so much that at the end of the day, you miss out. For example, that goalkeeper he trusted with the game against Absalom. I think he.
I'll tell you why after your submission.
Okay. It was a daring act, and so many other players. Ashraf Mugume was good in the Super 8s, but you are not sure whether he's going to start or not. He comes off bench. So what is this?
He came off a bench and should have been sent off. Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, so you look at the coach himself, you cannot tell who is going to play for KCCA in the next game. So he has kind of failed to even check out his lineup and be sure that this is the, not Chelsea, this is the KCCA, you know, lineup before we start a game. He alters his team so much. Okay. I feel that's the problem.
I'll move to Andrew. So who is letting who down, the players or the coach?
In terms of players letting down the coach, I think we have an insider here who normally has those stories of how certain players, of course, off camera tell you.
You know, Andrew, as you're speaking, in that video, the last part before the director took it off, Abu Mayanja is preparing to come on. Then they concede a goal, then he holds his, he puts his hands on his head and like Mukama.
So in terms of molds in the team, it's well known in Uganda, both on the national team and the clubs, that when a certain group doesn't like you, they work against you. Now, I don't have facts for that. Clive will elaborate. he normally has that. And I'm a bit biased when it comes to the KCCA coach. For some reason, I feel like he can do something. I feel like he can build something, but the challenge is you don't lose your first three games. You are opening, and 2 of them at home. And now opponents have phoned them out because they pound them, they come at them. They literally know their weak points at the back. But the positives, of course, Shaban, again, having a life. And the goal they scored, I mean, the move, the ball being released from the middle to find with some Arafat, and the way Arafat beat his man to actually cross that ball for Shaban. So yeah, we are talking KCCA. We should be praising Express for doing what they did, coming smash and grab. I think that was their first win since what, 2015? Against KCCA to Lugogo. Yeah. So I'm one of those. I'm very patient, but the results have got to support the patience. So it's quite tough for him. But I liked his post-match interview. You guys might have seen weakness, but I saw something. He says until he comes to the pitch and feels that he cannot deliver or he cannot do the job, he'll be the first to walk away. Now, for me, that's better than the images that you saw at the game against Maroons.
Yeah,
where he was, he actually was playing victimhood there, and he was trying to perhaps seek sympathy. Now he really became a man, came out and talked and told you that he believes in what he's doing. Now, the results may not show that, but he knows what he's doing in training. He knows what they are working on. I say, KCCA fans, prepare a little more, suffer a little more and see how.
Let's bring Clive in.
No,
he hasn't spoken.
You know, Mebo, I want Clive to speak last because because he's like the guest of honor. And you know, at functions, the guest of honor.
He has to close this topic.
Okay, you close the
because the guest of honor arrives last and leaves first at the function. There's a very interesting story we did for the Saturday Monitor in the score. The headline is "What's happening at KCCA." I think everyone out there needs to take time and read it. There's an opinion of what I think is happening at KCCA. There's an opinion of what Dennis Bossa thinks and what Elvis Senono thinks about what is happening with the club, and we've only focused on what is happening on the pitch. So we're not looking in the dressing room and everything, because when you walk into a stadium, there are things you'll see. One of the things I noticed, and trying to watch a bit of the KCC games, I've not been very impressed with how they set up, especially when they are trying to score a goal. The game is too predictable, and this, if you spoke to the Maroons coach, Mohamed Semfuma, he knew it actually before the game. They play square between Chungolo Gui and Moses Waiswa. Then they throw the ball to the right flank, and then they bring it back in. So, if you're going to a stadium and going to play KCCA, you just know what they are going to do. There is no surprise, there is nothing intrinsic, there is nothing appetizing. It's the same thing, and sometimes people can say that even the great managers have one system that works, the Pep Guardiolas and all, but what works can be very difficult to stop. Now, what is with KCCA is that what works is not working, and it's very easy to stop because they are playing off one wing, the ball through the middle onto the right flank, and then comes back in. I actually, when I was writing that, I dropped in a satirical line that if the left-sided winger walked off the pitch, Dragui would not know, because the ball never goes there. Never goes there. I watched a game against Maroons. I watched the entire first half before I left because I had to go and help explain to the public things to do with EA Pamoja. But even thereafter, and I asked several people, was there a difference? Did the people on the left side get the ball? They didn't. And Semfuma could almost say as much, the Maroons coach. And then you see it happening again. The goal they score is just evidence. The ball goes to one side, Usama Arafa on this side, then it goes in. After that, I don't think any KCCA fan was sitting on the other side ever saw the ball. So it's a bit static, and he needs to free it. Sergio Dragui needs to free it a bit. Then they are conceding the same goal. There is always space outside of their box. When the ball comes in, the defenders are going to drop inside the box, and when you hit the ball from outside the 18-yard area, it's going to be on target because there's always space. Now, when teams can go and train an entire week, and they're not going to find any surprise on a weekend, on a Sunday, surely loss number 4 couldn't be far away.
Okay, Clive.
And they're going to Kitara.
You'll find out. What secrets, what inside information can you give us?
Let me first supplement on what Andrew has just said. They are going to Kitara. Then they play NEC at Lugogo.
then they go to Paridi to play Arua Hill, then they come back to play Vipers at Chitend. So those are their next four games.
But you see, unless you don't want them to play at all, because every team now looks like they can.
Luckily, football isn't linear.
Yeah, but all has been said, and while Isma was speaking, in my mind, I was like, first of all, it is disappointing that we are discussing a team that has players who go to bed at 3 a.m.
Oh, wow.
We are discussing players who by now they are somewhere in Kansanga playing football on some of those futsal pitches, and they have a game tomorrow. That is why you will see a coach introducing a player in the 70th or 75th minute, and their legs are tired as if they started a game. So the issues with the KCCA team, personally, at this rate, I believe they start with the players. Ismail's mentioned it. I mean, you watch a team playing football and you're like, is this a team playing at home? A game ends, your KCCA playing at home, and the visitors have more shots on target than you. 3 games of the Startimes Uganda Premier League, KCCA FC don't have a total of 5 shots on target.
A total?
3 games, they don't have a total of 5 shots on target. But also, one of the departments that people have criticized the most or talked about the most is the goalkeeping department. Yesterday, Trago said something in his press conference. He said he needs a talented goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I personally asked him to tell us the qualities he needs in a talented goalkeeper. And this was his response. Did you see the goals we considered? I'm not going to comment any more on that.
Yeah.
That was his response. But you're talking about a goalkeeping department that has 3 goalkeepers.
Clive, I don't write that down because I'm going to respond to it. It's, for me, it's a down to English not being a first language. But yeah,
you're talking about a goalkeeping department that has 3 goalkeepers, one of them with a bit of experience, the other 2 very young, just starting their journey. And they all don't have a good working relationship with their immediate supervisor, the goalkeeping coach, Moses Oloya in this case.
Hugo Boss.
This is a gentleman. The team will come out for a warm-up and he will ask you, Coach Alonzani agenda okusoka you. You are the goalkeeping coach.
Yeah, you're the one who tells the head coach that.
Surely you should know who should start in your goal. But you're instead asking the goalkeepers that ani agenda okusoka you. But I was told this one stemmed from should have been their first game, the Super 8 against Waxoja.
Wow.
Sergio walked up to Hugo Boss and asked him who is going to start in goal. And his response was, I don't know. So Sergio made a decision that Emojong will start. I don't know how good he is as a goalkeeper coach. Personally, I don't rate him. But I'm reliably informed that as we speak, Sergio's assistant coach, the Spaniard, actually gives Hugo Boss notes or drills that he should use to train goalkeepers.
Is this a point where you need Waswa Bossa to come and speak to? If you've been around football, you know the fight between
if you're really good at what you're doing, how on earth is somebody else actually giving you notes to train your goalkeepers? If you're really good at your job and you know what you're doing. This is probably something that they have realized that this department needs help. Then there's, on a lighter note, this is very, very hilarious. I'm told that every time he gets these notes, don't laugh. Every time he gets these notes, he runs to the administration block to show his bosses what they are going to be working on today.
So meaning of that.
Wow. Let's go on because I'm not doing it.
Like, unfortunately, you have just 1 minute left.
Only.
So
this is the most important story of the show.
You have all this, but I mean, you have a gentleman whose working relationship with the most important 3 members of that football team is in Shambolic. And you expect those players to go out there and perform, put up good performances, when the man who is supposed to prepare them physically, mentally, technically and tactically to go out there and perform is actually not doing what he's supposed to do. So that is probably a tip of the iceberg of what is happening at Lugogo. But for me, I feel the players need to step up but also some departments need to get their act together.
In saying this, Traguil actually is not the, okay, he's the head, he's the figurehead, but the issues are deeper.
The issues are deeper. For instance, did you know that the gentleman, Felix, what's his other name, the fitness coach? Did you know that he's no longer at Lugogo?
Oh.
The guy who
the Felix Ayobo or something.
Ayobo,
the national team. Do you know why he's not at Lugogo?
No.
He's no longer at Lugogo.
Why?
Because I'm told he was giving the coach wrong information of the number of minutes players were spending in the ice tubs after training.
Clearly they're against the man.
There's a big problem there.
But
anyway, so there's a lot going on.
If that's true, it's sad, because if like the goalkeeping coach,
Hugo Boss. Well, Moses Soloya.
You know that's your job, you're hired by the club. Do to your best to keep it. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Now, the one thing from Clive, when you said about the press conference, if you don't start speaking this foreign language at the age of 6, there are certain things that you're going to struggle with even when you're an adult.
Yeah.
When you're a talented goalkeeper, I think it's a word that comes to him, because I've seen, there's two things. I've seen Erik ten Hag, for example, when I was asked about the substitute, take off Casemiro and bring Eriksen, and he said, I wanted more football, because in his mind what he wanted to say, that's what comes, English.
Yeah.
Then, but the peak of all these people who struggle with English and it's not their first language, neither is it mine, but probably I started earlier than them. Most of these learn it for the job. I learned it to ensure that when we are describing living things and non-living things, I'm on the right side. It was Rafa Benitez, after Liverpool-Everton game, in the time when he was coaching, he took off Steven Gerrard and brought on Lucas Leiva, and Liverpool were leading 2-1, and was asked, how do you make such a substitution? And he said, I wanted a thinking player. You can imagine, and you can, what Rafa Benitez actually meant, he wanted a more conservative player who is going to keep the shape of the team, which Steven Gerrard wasn't. And sometimes when you're judging this people, and for me, sometimes when I'm speaking to people who are not students of communication like I am, sometimes I want to give them a leverage for them to make a mistake, because they do not have the same artistry that I have, that when I want to call you stupid, I'll say you're not very intelligent. You know, so I will not offend you in a certain way. So some people will use words, and when you say you want a talented goalkeeper, maybe it will offend a Mojong and Ochan and a few people.
Well, the talented goalkeeper is looking for is currently injured. He's nursing a shoulder injury. But there's something more interesting. on the eve of the Express game.
Yeah.
On the eve of the Express game, Mustafa Chiza overheard Hugo Boss telling Sergio Traguil that don't feel Mustafa Chiza is unfit.
But still he is not.
No, I mean, but I mean, as
I would argue, because Mustafa Chiza has been active for some time, I don't think he's fit.
The environment in which
is toxic.
And if he really meant what he did, then why did he have to deny saying it when the boy later called him in the night, telling him that Coach Silimu Sani from the boy?
Oh my God.
Wow.
Okay, but they lose the game against the Express. They lose the game against the Express. These players are paid on time. These players eat breakfast. These players eat lunch. These players eat evening tea. Sometimes supper when they train at night.
Yeah.
They lose against the Express. The game is done. Of course, the Express players celebrate and stuff like that. But they are stranded. It's Chechi Dako. Do you know what happens? Bebe Cool gets into his wallet, picks out 2 million Ugandan shillings, and hands it over to the team. Express. To distribute among themselves, to get home, take the kids back to wherever they're supposed to. And this is a team that has probably won their biggest game of the season so far. Against a team that is well facilitated with everything. I don't know if Express players get NSSF.
Yeah.
KCCA management pays NSSF for their players.
Yeah.
Amongst all other things. They have medical insurance.
Yeah.
Those boys are paid on the 25th.
Oh, you say they have extra medical insurance because there is a FUFA one, and then
that one everyone has.
So there's a question for Clive. I am protecting my source. Clive, someone says, someone who knows.
Actually, Clive today then has a follow on X who. A follow on X who says he used to carry Clive's boots.
Someone close to KCCA says Hugo Boss trained KCCA in 2010, 2013 on Paraka, Somalia, Vipers. Did he use those people you are saying he's showing notes to? at the time. So
I think he's trying to keep a job, but I don't know why he runs to the management block to show them.
But is it true?
Why would I say it if it's not true?
I mean, it's sad if it's true. Very sad.
One of the things that happens in Uganda football, Mabel, for me, I want to give a wrap to help the chief guest, is that every time coaches are hired and they are outsiders, Ugandan football has a word, okube nyumba, where all those who are within, who felt like they should either be in the job or should be getting more out of the club, start internal wars to fight that person. Now, some of the time, these things also come from club legends from outside who have access to these players and can speak to them in the Kodeo language. Yeah, if they have a soga, they can be able to communicate that way. Which Dragoi will not have, which Neva will not have, which Stojanovic will not have at Villa, and several others. If you go back, Jan Frey, Eddie May, and all these coaches who have been around here. Now that becomes a challenge until people start to think of themselves that they are not there to make friends, they are there to do a job. Yeah, if you're lucky to make a friend at work, that's a bonus. But in the end, Tragu is there to do a job, so are the players. If a player still think, and you met a Ugandan player and he says, the coach Yaneme Sompil, I always make a very simple reference to them. I give them Javier Zanetti. At Inter Milan, Javier Zanetti was coached by 23 coaches. But for all the 23 coaches, he was in the first team.
Always.
Always. Never a bench player. Even when he ran out of legs at the right wing, he became a central defender. Rather, a central midfielder. That defense midfielder. So until players start to think of themselves in that way, can you imagine what John Terry would have been in his time at Chelsea? I think he had 17 coaches throughout his career. If John Terry felt at any one time that he could only play for Mourinho or for Ranieri, he could have retired at 23 because then Chelsea were to sign another 15 coaches. So then we need to get out of this mentality, and that's why sometimes you look at players, you want to blame the coach. I'm not one of those who will come here and say sack Traoré because they haven't won. You look at these players and you're thinking, surely they are letting the club down.